with.
Hi, I'm Arlene with Morrison's Flowers in Williamsburg, Virginia. And today I'm working at home like many of you are as we're going through the challenges of the coronavirus. If there is a silver lining, it is because we're in the end of March and close to April, and many of our flowers and trees are now blooming. So today I thought I would bring in some of the flowers and foliage that I have here at my house, identify it for you, and show you how you can bring your natural world from outside into your home and bring some of that serenity inside. The naturalist John Muir said, "Into the woods I go to lose my mind and to find my soul." And I hope that this brings you some positive serenity. So today I'm starting with this beautiful Waterford vase, and I've inserted some curly willow in it to use as a grid. If you don't have curly willow, you can take a very thin, supple branch and wrap it around in your vase for a grid. And we're going to start with this fern called the holly fern. And this is a very hardy perennial that I have growing and have had growing for several years. And it stays green all year, most of the year, and I'm very pleased to use it in different arrangements. So I've started with a little triangle here, and to that I'm going to add some foxtail fern. And if you'll notice, I'm cleaning off the foliage so that none of the foliage goes in the water. And I'm also trying to do this backwards so that you'll have a frontal view. So bear with me. Let me give this a little cut. Of course, foxtail ferns don't weather outside here, but we keep them in pots and take them in our garage through the winter months. Okay, and to that I'm going to add some camellia. We have several different camellia varieties that grow in our yard. I love the green waxy leaf of the camellia bush, and right now some of mine are actually blooming. Again, I'm trying to give height and bring out the sides in the form of a triangle. And the last piece of foliage I'm going to use in the yard, it's called Poet's Laurel, but when we use this in the shop, we identify it as Italian ruscus. It's just a great hardy foliage to have in the yard or in any type of arrangement. Okay, now I'm going to add my blooming dogwood branch. It's just started to peak with color. Of course, it's our state flower. And another one for this side. And to that, we've got a little height now, a little drama. I'm going to add some azaleas that have also started to peak with color. These are kind of a coral hot pink variety, and they're just one of my favorite spring colors. And then finally, I'm really going to add a pot with some daffodils. It was fun this fall. I planted almost 100 bulbs, and I was rewarded this spring. So one thing many people may not know about daffodils is that they emit a syrup when they're freshly cut, that if it's mixed with other flowers, it can stop up the stem from intaking water. So I usually cut my daffodils, let them sit a few minutes before I add them to the arrangement, and I do not recut the stems at that time. But I love the hot pink with the yellow. And let me just see how this is coming along. These are so happy. Okay, and the final thing I'm going to add, I hope all of you have Helleborus. If you haven't discovered it, it's going to be one of your favorite perennials. It actually starts to bloom in January. And after a year or so, the birds actually somehow spread the seeds to where I have it growing in many parts of my yard. So I must have a dozen plants. And I tell you what, when you see that bloom in January, it just really is pleasing. Okay. All right, so let me just cut this a little shorter. Yeah. Okay. So that's our table arrangement. So I'm going to set this aside. And start with the small arrangement. This is just a silver mint julep that I had in my house, and I'm sure you have some very special containers. This would be something that would be fun for the children to help you with. For this one, I cut some fresh boxwood, and also I think for something low and wide, it's best to cut it short unless you're going to bind the stems together. So for a little added texture, I'm going to add some Dusty Miller. I mean, that's pretty all on its own. And then to really make it beautiful, here's a camellia blossom. And I love the juxtaposition of the gray foliage with the pink. And I'll just add a couple more azaleas. And that's perfect for a small counter or bathroom. And this is a container I keep on my kitchen counter most of the year. It's filled with greens or greens and flowers. And today I think we're going to use some azalea blooms, and these are more of a fuchsia, and also more camellia. So I'm just going to drop these in the individual holes. It's very simple, just to add touches of the azalea. They don't really last a long time, but long enough, and once they die out, you can go out and cut more. So another beautiful camellia, I'll add that to the front. Another one of my perennials just coming out is the Japanese painted fern. You really can't see it much here, but it's got like a burgundy foliage, and it's kind of tender right now, but it will actually grow into a nice size fern on the ground. But this is also something, if you don't have, you might really enjoy it. So I wanted to thank you for watching. I want to challenge you to go out in your world, and if you have children, take them. There's some real fun apps that they can use on almost any cell phone. It's called the Flower. Sorry, I wrote this down. The Flower Checker, Nature Gate, and Google Goggles. So you can actually take a picture with these apps, and it will help the children identify what kind of foliage or flower it is. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.